But welcome to day 3. Today is we're going to dive deep. It's all about creating a safe, emotional body today. It's going to be awesome. So let's get started. Okay. So our nervous system is the command center of our body, and it helps coordinate all of our actions and sensory information within your body. Your central nervous system includes your brain and your spinal cord, and then a bunch of nerves that branch off from your spinal cord to all parts of the body. The nervous system takes in information, processes it, and then triggers reactions within the body. So in periods of stress, the body will activate a fight or flight response to protect you. And a healthy nervous system can self-regulate and move people in and out of these states safely. And your nervous system is comprised of many nerves that communicate information to the brain, but one that you're probably familiar with is the vagus nerve. So this nerve travels from your brain all the way down to your cervix and plays in a really important role in helping to either, put our body in fight or flight or come out of it. I always do this. I lose the screen. There it is. Okay. So there are 3 main pathways that you can be in, or states that you can be in. And the first one is called ventral vagal. It is a parasympathetic state. So this is when we were talking about like digestion on Tuesday's training, we were talking about being in that like rest and digest state. This is that state. So when you're in this state, you are safe. There is homeostasis within the body. And when you're here, you will feel things like joyful, grounded. You'll have an ability to connect with others and feel really compassionate and empathetic. You'll feel calm and settled and curious. And this is where we want to spend most of our time. We want to be in this place most of the time and then only react short term to dangers or perceived threats and then come back to this place. But the problem is that we often are not ever in this place. And this is the place we need to be in order to have a fertile body, a safe body. So the next state is your sympathetic state. This is your fight or flight. This is a survival strategy where your body preps you to be alert in order to either fight or flight in the presence of danger. When you're here, you'll feel things like angry, anxiety, worry. You'll have fear and panic. You'll feel really heightened. You'll have a faster heart rate and higher blood pressure. And this is where a lot of people live because it can feel really good to run on cortisol and adrenaline because at the end of the day, they're kind of pepping you up and making you feel good and alert. So a lot of people like live in this place and they just run on cortisol all day long and they think they have energy, but it's really just that they're running on cortisol. And eventually when you do that for way too long, which a lot of us do, you get to a dorsal vagal state. And this is a freeze state. This is an emergency state in which we just shut down. So think of like a deer in headlights, like they see the car coming, they know it's coming, but they are just like frozen and cannot move, even though they see danger coming. When you're in this place, you'll feel like extreme exhaustion, no motivation, hopelessness. You'll feel depressed, numb, disassociated. You'll have a slower heart rate, lower blood pressure. And it's just not really a place you want to be. But unfortunately, it's a place where tons of people are just living, right? So if you're someone that like has ever been told that you suffer from like adrenal fatigue, like you're in this place because every time you're in a sympathetic fight or flight state, your adrenals are what's pumping out the majority of those stress hormones. And over time, your adrenals just can't keep up. And so they don't respond appropriately to stress. So then your body, as an emergency survival technique, puts you and you get to this freeze state. And in this state, it's really hard to like get motivated to do things and to make changes because you are just suffering from like severe exhaustion. But in order to get pregnant and grow a baby, our body has to have the sense of safety. It needs to be in that very first state, that ventral vagal, rest, and digest. So let's talk about things that we can do to understand why we might live in these places. So hold on, let me make sure it switched to the right one. Nope, it didn't. Sorry. Oh, yep, it did. Okay. So this is your subconscious patterns. It's what drives your filter of the world. It's how you experience life. It is developed as a child through your experiences. And then it's basically like a filter in your brain. So every experience you've had, every thought, every impression lives in the subconscious mind, and it influences our patterns of thought and behavior. And it can influence it in good ways, and it can influence it in bad ways. And so I often find it's easiest to kind of identify some of your subconscious patterns by answering these questions. So the first one would be, do you sabotage your own efforts ever? So let's say you're trying to conceive and you know that drinking alcohol is not the best for trying to conceive, yet you find yourself drinking numerous times a week. That's sabotaging your own efforts. And there's a million other ways you could be sabotaging your efforts, right? But sabotaging your efforts is a sign that your subconscious has a different plan in place for what you think you have in place, if that makes sense. The next question would be, are you quick to shut down ideas or moments of inspiration? Do you know or want better for yourself, but you have a hard time following through and believing that you can? This one's big for like people that are trying to like lose weight or working out. It's like you want to change, but like you have a really hard time following through. Another one is, are you afraid of failure or actually getting what it is you want? So are you like not even willing to try because you're afraid of the failure rather than trying and, you know, maybe achieving it? Another question would be, if you start projects but never finish them. Another question would be, do you find yourself repeating the same mistakes that your parents did? This is a big one. Our feelings are the ways in which our subconscious mind communicates to us. And if you are thinking thoughts that make you feel not so good about yourself, then we have to rewire those thoughts. And once you have identified a few thought patterns that are no longer serving you, you can change them. And there's always a way to change these thoughts into ones that uplift you and make you feel good. And we're going to talk about kind of what some might be and why these happen. So it all starts with childhood, believe it or not. Believe it or not, all of your subconscious patterns, all of your subconscious patterns are locked and loaded by age 12. So it all begins with you as a child. And who did you want love from the most? And who did you have to become to get that love? And it will be so different for your own, you know, childhood, obviously. But even people that are like, oh, I had like the good childhood, it doesn't matter. The way your parents interacted with you still created your subconscious patterns, and it's how you view and filter the world. So when you're younger, let's say your best friend is in gym class with you, she got picked to be captain of a team, and now you're picking teams. And you're like, oh, my best friend's the captain. She's definitely going to pick me. Even though I suck at this sport and I'm not going to be a good player, like she's 100% going to pick me. And then she doesn't pick you. And in that moment, you're like shocked. And that is maybe one of the first times you believed like, I'm not enough. You know, like me just being her friend wasn't enough for her to pick me. I also needed to be good at the sport. So now you have this little folder in your brain that says, I'm not enough. And now your brain looks for evidence of that elsewhere. So now maybe you get a D on a test and your dad grounds you. And now you're like, see, I'm not enough. And now you added that memory to your file folder. And then your boyfriend cheats on you for no reason when you're in 16. You're like, see, I'm not enough. And you add it to the folder. Now you have this whole folder full of memories proving you're not enough. So as you go through life, underneath the surface, there's always that belief that you're not enough. So now when things happen and they trigger you, you're triggered because whatever that was is making you or reminding you that you're not enough. So in order to, get approval or love or acceptance, you might have, as a child, had to succeed, right? Get straight A's, or achieve, keep getting more and more, go to the best college, become a doctor. Or you might have had to be the strongest or the fastest. You might have needed to be the best player on your team, right? You might have had to be a caretaker for younger siblings, and your parents showed you love and acceptance when you did that. You might have had to be someone who had to take care of your own parents. Maybe you had to rescue your own parents because they were emotionally immature. And that's how you got love and acceptance from others. And it's not just our parents, like teachers play a role, friends play a role, but you're with your parents the most. So it's usually their love that you were looking for, and you change who you are to meet their demands for what it is to get love and acceptance, right? It's very deep and it's very scary to think you could, impact someone's life in this way. But there's basic needs that you need met when you're a child. And when they're not met, then you kind of adapt your beliefs. And it causes us to take on these subconscious patterns. These are some of them. We're going to talk about, these are the most common ones that I see. Hold on, let me go. So probably, and this one's like through society too. Like society trains us to like achieve more, keep up with the Joneses, do more, make more money. Like there's never enough money, just keep making more. So the overachiever is someone that seeks validation and sense of worth through success and achievement. So these individuals believe that love can only be obtained through constant achievement and recognition from others. And overachievers would have grown up in home environments where their parents were probably workaholics, and attention and praise were given when they accomplished something. They may have developed a strong desire to prove your intelligence or skills to gain love and attention from their parents. And financial and material success probably hold great importance to them, and you seek the security that they maybe didn't have in childhood. So, this is really, tons of people are overachievers, just even through society, even if your parents weren't this, like society can kind of guide this also. So these people are like really driven by external validation and achievement and experience, and they have like pressure to meet societal expectations and succeed in various aspects of life. These people are like type A, go, 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 never stop. And it really it causes constant stress, which, now we're running on cortisol. It's going to interrupt our hormones, affect our reproductive health, and lead to difficulties in conceiving. So that's why being an overachiever is something that, we have to work on if we're trying to conceive. The next really common one is a caretaker. So a caretaker arises usually from a codependent relationship. So their parents were probably codependent with them. And unfortunately, usually in their own relationships, they grow up and then they're codependent with like their spouse or their partner. But this is where you gain a sense of identity and self-worth by neglecting your own needs and always taking care of others. So they believe that receiving love is only possible by constantly catering to others and disregarding their own well-being. Caretakers often have a history of being praised for taking care of others and being put in the role of caring for younger siblings or sick parents or anything like that. They, again, because they're neglecting their own self-care and always putting others first, they tend to take more on than they can handle, which leads to, neglect in their own life, but like stress, hormonal imbalances, suboptimal physical well-being, etc. So this one is another common one that I see a lot. The Next one is a rescuer protector. So this person has a strong urge to rescue and protect those around them as a way to heal their own vulnerability. And this one is very rooted in childhood experiences. So they perceive others as helpless and dependent, and deriving their love and self-worth from being in a position of power and taking care of others. So rescuers or protectors believe that the only way to receive love is by focusing on the wants and needs of others and neglecting their own. And they may have grown up in an environment where they had to protect a parent or sibling from harm, or maybe they witnessed their parents rescuing each other. This one can sometimes happen in homes with like addiction, or abusive homes. Sometimes there's like rescuing the mom or rescuing the siblings, but it's very focused on caring for others and being in a position of power. Again, this leads to extreme stress and exhaustion from always taking on more than you need and constantly auditing others' decisions so that you can like protect them. The next one is the yes person. This is the 100% people pleaser. They have a strong tendency to prioritize the needs of others over their own. And this comes from usually witnessing self-sacrifice modeled in childhood and again, engaging in those codependency patterns. Yes, people believe that the only way to receive love is by being constantly good and selfless. And they might have seen their parents do this, or, they needed to do it on their own in order to feel loved and accepted. Not fulfilling others' demands could lead to feelings of shame, being yelled at, receiving negative consequences. So if you had a parent that was very explosive, like at the drop of a hat, or you never knew if they were gonna be like hot and cold that day, you probably just always said yes to your parent and never you walked on eggshells because you never wanted to like upset them, and you wanted to avoid being yelled at. But again, by self-sacrifice and prioritizing others' needs, then we experience chronic stress. The list goes on and on. Hormones, fertility, reproductive, all that. I think we have two more. So the life of the party. So this is an interesting one because the life of the party is someone who always appears cheerful, happy, using humor to avoid pain. Like comedians, these are comedians because comedians are usually like super fucked up, and this is how they handle that. They do that in order to avoid showing pain, weakness, or vulnerability. And this individual may have experienced shaming for expressing their true emotions in childhood, like saying, stop crying, don't be dramatic, suck it up. So they believe that the only way to feel loved and accepted is by ensuring everyone around them is happy. So they're usually like, loud and use humor and, all of that. And they never display their true emotions. But suppressing your emotions, again, just leads to your body running in this really heightened, stressful place that you don't want to be. And then the last one we're going to talk about today is the underachiever. So the underachiever keeps themselves small and hides their true potential due to fear of criticism or shame. So this could come from like, if you did something, achieve something really great and then told your loved one, like your family, about it, and they were just like, oh, here's Meg bragging about this, like, so it makes you feel like you're being attacked. So what you do is you do less so that, and you keep it like hidden so that you never feel that criticism. They feel the need to hide their achievements and happiness from others because they fear it would hurt the feelings or attract criticism. And again, this comes a lot from like parents who did everything for their kid. So it's like parents that took on, did everything for their kids, like did their laundry, did their homework, never made them do anything, took care of everything. They were like the helicopter parents, but like at the same time, like you never let your kid like learn from their mistakes. So now your kid kind of just becomes, someone that like doesn't even really try because they know there's always going to be someone there to just like do it for them or, handle it for them. they have like their own internalized fear of failure by never being allowed to fail, basically. So if you're wondering, like, cool, I'm all of those, which like I am many of them. This is like the first step in like what you do is awareness. So like I just brought you a little bit of awareness by like helping you understand what subconscious patterns are. And maybe you found yourself in a few of those patterns. Maybe you're like, I'm an overachiever and a yes person and a caretaker. But the importance of awareness is because you are and become your thoughts and feelings. So for example, let's say you write on a piece of paper, I am not good enough. You write it one time, but now you keep writing over and over the same thing, just like basically popping it over in different colors. The more you overwrite that, the bolder the text becomes, and it gets harder to erase it later. And your physical and mental habits do the same thing. So your physical habits equate to the stuff that you do. So like your routines, everything we talked about on Tuesday with like the nutrition foundations and all of that. And then your mental habits are the thoughts and your self-beliefs. They're your insecurities, your views of the world. And you have to become aware of what those beliefs are. Because if you run on autopilot and you keep saying like, why do bad things always happen to me? Like, why can't something just go right? Like, that just keeps you in that place. Because now your brain's like, bad things always happen to us. Now we're going to filter the world through this. So now we're just going to keep looking for all the bad things that happen to us. We're going to add it to that little file folder and keep growing it. So now it's just becoming like permanent that bad things always happen to you. So now bad things are always going to happen to you. And if you want to change your life, you have to learn how to change your story. What we tell ourselves is what we believe. And we often limit ourselves by deciding we can't do something before we even try. So the limiting beliefs lead us to ask ourselves like, well, why bother? This is stupid, or this won't work for me. And a lot of times when I'm on like calls with people for coaching, or if someone wants to like ask me questions about my course, these are some of their objections that they have. Like, well, what if this doesn't work for me? And it's like, well, this is you self-sabotaging your journey before you even started, right? Like you don't even want to take the risk because you're just already in your head. Like, why bother? This isn't going to work for me. Like every time I get pregnant, I miscarry, so it probably won't work for me. That's the thinking that we have to get away from, but we also have to be able to identify and be aware that we're doing it. And when we can effectively do this, then we can stop, the pattern of negative self-talk. And if you have a lot of negative self-talk, it's a very clear sign that you need to rewire some of those subconscious beliefs. You need to rewrite your story because our story affects what we do, where we go, and how we approach life. So how do we become aware? I'm going to tell you. Okay. So being aware of what your thoughts and habits are. So, and it might take some time for you to actually recognize what your thoughts are, but a good practice is if you have like on a Saturday, set an alarm for every 30 minutes on your phone. And it's going to be a lot, but you just do it. And maybe do it for like 4 hours, every 30 minutes. And you're just going to be going about your day and that alarm is going to go off. And the second that alarm goes off, I want you to write down or think, what was I just thinking or doing or saying prior to that alarm going off? Because a lot of times you'll notice you're just like doing dishes and you're thinking something. That's the thing, you need to know what you're thinking. When you're doing dishes and your brain's just going, what are the thoughts you're having? Write them down. When you see a pregnancy announcement on Facebook, what are your thoughts? Write them down. When you and your husband get in a tiff, whatever the tiff was over, write it down. This is how we become aware. Because if we just go on autopilot and our subconscious just thinks the things it wants to think, and we're not addressing what they are or even being aware of what they are, then we can't change them. So, for example, if this is why I can't stand, but I think it's detrimental when women make their lives that they're infertile. And you see it, like if you go on TikTok and you type in like hashtag infertility, there's gonna be all these accounts that come up that are like hashtag my TTC life after loss, or like IVF journey, whatever. And like, I feel for those women so much. Like I've been in the area of loss and infertility, and I know it does feel like it takes over your life, but those women are like actually making it their life. They're making it their identity. People come to follow them because they want to know about their infertility journey. And that's just, and all they're talking about and all of their reels and everything is just about how they can't get pregnant and how they have to put needles in their butt for hormones for IVF, and how they had another failed cycle or the retrieval wasn't successful. Like they're constantly saying and think, there's no way they're not thinking it because they're saying it, but like, I can't get pregnant, I am infertile, I have to do IVF, when instead they could be changing the way they think those. So if you notice yourself saying like, I can't get pregnant, in that moment, be like, no, I can get pregnant. And it sounds so stupid, but the more, just like that paper where we were writing, I am not enough, the more you say it, the more permanent it becomes. Another important step is going to be to sit with your emotions when you have big emotions. So like, let's say you get in a fight with your husband and you're like fuming, right? Or you're upset. And so you just do something to distract you from those emotions, which is fine. You know, maybe you go watch TV or do whatever, go for a walk. But then it's important that we come back and relive that scenario and think about why we were feeling the way we were feeling. Because it's important that we're able to identify what the limiting belief is surrounding that thing that we thought, or the reason that we were triggered. So I'll give you a couple examples. Let me go to the next slide. For example, noticing limiting beliefs is harder at first, but once you realize what some of yours are, you can pinpoint them like right away. So, example, you think, my husband didn't call me on his lunch break today, and it makes you feel upset. So then think about, well, why does it make you feel upset? Because it makes you feel like you're not important. That's the limiting belief. The limiting belief is that I'm not important. Another thing could be like, I don't know, you never get things right. You say that to yourself, I never get anything right. What's the limiting belief there? I'm stupid. Every time, another example would be like, every time I get pregnant, I miscarry. What's the limiting belief there? I'm broken. Another one could be like, my friends don't want to spend time with me. What's the limiting belief behind that thought? I'm unlovable. Right? So it's really important to become aware. When using your reactions is so powerful. Like I always say, like any argument you get in, anything where you feel triggered, write that shit down, because you're going to forget. Like you're going to try to remember 3 days later and you're going to be like, why was I triggered again? Just write it down in the moment. Type it in the notes section on your phone. Be like, got in a fight with my husband because I came home and the dishes weren't done. And just leave it. And then go back to it an hour later and be like, what belief is coming through when I feel triggered by that? I'm not important. I'm not appreciated, right? Because once we can identify the self-beliefs, we can turn those around and change the way we think about it. But if we don't know what the beliefs are and we just keep thinking crazy things all day long and we don't pinpoint what the beliefs are, it gets really hard to do that. Also, like, how do you talk about yourself? So this is the same thing when I was just saying, like with the TTC on TikTok, like my IVF journey with whatever, like they're telling the whole entire world over and over that they're infertile. That means they're definitely telling themselves that. And how you talk about yourself and what you tell people about yourself is how you view yourself, right? You don't see the world as it is, but as you are. And the words you use that describe your present, past, your future create the reality that you inhabit. If you cast yourself as a helpless victim, then you're that. If you're the girl that just can't get pregnant unless you do IVF, then you're the girl that can't get pregnant unless you do IVF. And if you cast yourself as the master of fertility and someone that can overcome all of these diagnoses and can get pregnant on her own, then you're going to be that. So you can change what you can't change the history that's happened. You can't change the miscarriages or infertility or diagnoses that happen, but you can change how you move forward. And you can change how you think about yourself and what you say about yourself. And I always believe that like the best way to get a result, the fastest, is to find someone who already accomplished what you're trying to accomplish and then model their behavior. So if it was someone that was overweight and lost weight and has been healthy for a year, I'm going to do what they did. If it's someone who was, miserable in their relationship and wanted a divorce, but then fixed it and now they're happier than ever, I'm going to do what they're doing, right? If you meet someone that like started from nothing and grew to $1 million, like I'm probably going to do what they're doing, right? And learning from those strategies, these people aren't lucky. They're just doing something different than you aren't. So like for me personally, like I came from loss and I came from infertility and I was told I couldn't get pregnant on my own. And now I have a baby. So, and I've helped tons of women do the same thing. I've had women that had 4 miscarriages back to back and the doctors were literally like, stop getting pregnant because you'll never carry, and then worked with me and got pregnant. So it's all about changing your story and, changing the things that you believe. And a good way to think about it is like, have you ever been really mad at someone and then all of a sudden, like when you're really mad, you just remember every really fucking annoying thing about that person? Like you're just like, why did I even like that person to start with? They're the worst. And it's because you're just like seeing the world through that anger. Whereas on the other hand, like if you are someone who is like in love, you just fell in love. You're in like the first 3 months, it's just like amazing or whatever. And everything is just beautiful. Everything is beautiful in life because your demeanor has changed, like you're in a really happy, amazing place. So like even when stupid little things happen throughout the day, like they don't faze you because overall you have this amazing, happy outlook. So some ways to get there are the awareness challenge. Like I just said, becoming aware of your thoughts, finding what belief it is, and then rewriting it, right? Instead of I can't do this, I can do this, or I can try to do this, right? Turn every no into a maybe, and then it doesn't become as hard. The next thing is to practice gratitude. And this one is important because you have to be able to still acknowledge the things that you're grateful for and be grateful for what you have. So when I have my clients practice gratitude, it's going to look 2 different things that are going to happen. So we're going to journal twice a day. 1 piece of paper is fine, but like in the morning, you're going to write a positive affirmation about whatever you're trying to achieve. So, whatever it might be. I am a fertile woman who will conceive this year. I don't know. Just make up any positive affirmation, but like write it down. And then the other thing I would like for my clients to do is a power list. So these are like non-negotiables for the day. And don't write down like 15 things, because then when you don't achieve them and you're not able to cross them off at the end of the day, then it's just like, but like choose like 3 non-negotiables. So like a lot of times for my clients, it'll be like getting outside, bed by 10 p.m. and going for a walk, So like those things are all going to be really supportive of their fertility and their hormones, and they're not super hard things to do, but whatever it might be for you. For some people, like it's just getting the nutrition foundation. So like eating a bedtime snack, eating breakfast upon waking, and having a protein with a carb at every meal. That might be your power list in the beginning. Those might be really hard for you to achieve. Writing them down and having them be your non-negotiables, great way to make sure you're getting them done. And then before you go to bed, you're going to go right to that same page, check off your power list, make sure, you're going to write 3 things that you're grateful for that day, like real things, not just like grateful that work ended early. Like, be really mindful. And if you take time and slow down, there's so much in every single day to be grateful for. We just get caught up in like fast-paced everyday life where no one's grateful for anything and doesn't appreciate anything. But 3 things that have to be different every day. The next one would be the highlight of your day. So focusing on something that was really positive. Maybe you talked to your best friend on your lunch break on the phone. Maybe you hiked with your dog that day. Whatever was the highlight of your day, because this is ending your day with 3 grateful things and something that was really great. And it's, how can you fall asleep not happy when you're doing that, right? And then the last thing is something you did for you. So some of the non-negotiables that I have like with my clients are like, you have to do stuff every week to de-stress. And every day you have to do something for you, because people that come from being chronic people pleasers, that yes man, the caretaker, the protector, those people neglect their self needs and self-care for others. So by me holding you accountable, making you do something every day for you, that's going to be helpful. And it can be something small. It could be like, I did 5-minute meditation. I listened to my favorite podcast on the way home from work. I snuggled and watched an episode of Schitt's Creek when I should have been doing something different. Like, whatever it is, I took an Epsom salt bath. That's a good one. I did yoga, whatever it might be, but it has to be something that you prioritized for you. And do that every day. All right, what's next? Next is visualization, which is one of my favorites, but the reason I like visualization, because your memories and experiences are stored in your subconscious mind in the form of pictures, sounds, feelings, images, and symbols. So if you want to change your subconscious mind, you have to do so with pictures, images, symbols, feelings, sounds. So you can't just tell your subconscious and be like, let's change, right? A really powerful way to do it is imagining and picturing in your mind what you want to happen. And this is where visualization comes in. So visualization is a powerful technique that involves creating vivid mental images of the exact life you desire, including, which for you or whoever would be the experience of conceiving. And by consistently visualizing the specific details of your desired outcome, you can program your subconscious mind to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward that goal. So practicing visualization helps to cultivate a sense of hope in the possibility of conceiving, which was, that's what we would be visualizing. And it's also a way to focus your mind and energy toward manifesting that throughout the day. So I like to do visualizing first thing when you wake up. And the reason is when you wake up, you are still in that dream-like state, right? Like when we wake up from our dream, but when you wake up, you are still in that dream-like state. So you're closest to that dreamy mind space. And I just want you to lay there and close your eyes and actually visualize the life you want. And don't just say like, oh, I have a baby. I want a baby. I'm going to have a pregnancy test. Like, no. If I said everything you want, I can make happen for you in 6 months, what would that life fucking look like? I want details. I want vivid pictures in your brain. I want you to describe it to me. And if at first you need to write it down to really get details, that's fine. But I want, like, what is your life going to look like when you have a baby? What is your day going to look like when you wake up? How are you going to dress your baby? How are you going to parent your baby? What is that going to feel like for you? What's your life going to be like? That's what I want you to visualize every single morning, but with pictures and vivid feelings. And I want you to think about all of that and do it every day, just for like 3 minutes. Take 3 minutes when you first wake up. Set your alarm for 5 minutes earlier, 3 minutes for visualizing, and then 2 minutes to write your affirmation for the day. And really take deep breaths, center yourself, and visualize the life you want, right? We all think about it. We've all done this before. If someone, you see the lotteries at whatever, $500 billion, I don't know. And you're like, oh, and then you kind of, your mind wanders and you're like, I wonder, what would I do if I won that? And then you kind of think of all the things that you might do if you won that money, right? And you picture your house and you picture the vacations you're going to go on and the car you're going to get. Do that. But instead of $500 billion, which I don't even think the lottery gets that high, it's your baby. It's the baby that you've been trying to conceive. It's the baby that you're not going to miscarry this time. It's your baby that you get to become a mother to. And, you know, it's going to transform your entire world. That's what you need to visualize. So the awareness is, you know, step one. And then we're going to do the journaling, gratitude journaling, and then the visualization. Those are the 3 first steps that you need to take toward rewriting your subconscious patterns to bring your central nervous system back to that ventral vagal calm state. Yay. Done with day 3. That wasn't too bad. I didn't ramble for too long. So I really hope that those were, you know, really actionable steps that you can take, and that it was, you know, you were able to understand it fully and, you know, it made sense. So day 1, we did safe body. No, day 1, we did Western, why Western medicine gets wrong. Day 2, safe body. Day 3, emotional body. And when you do that, you'll have an abundance of energy and homeostasis in the body. And that is what you need to get pregnant naturally. And yeah, so my course, Fertility and Balance, teaches you how to do all of this step by step in 15 modules. And because you're on the live, there's going to be a discount code. So modules 1 and 2, which is basically what I taught in this 1, 2, and I think part of 3. But it's Metabolism 101 and Nutrition Foundations, you know, how to get going on that, how to lay a solid foundation. Then modules 3 through 6 are blood sugar, digestion, thyroid, minerals, and then no, 6 is minerals. So this takes you through, there's like little assessments so you can assess, you know, digestion, thyroid, minerals, and then it gives you, you know, detailed plans or supplements or things to do in order to work on each of those areas kind of on your own based on where you're at. Module 7 is healing foods. So these are like the types of foods that I recommend, you know, the most. 8 and 9 is all about your cycle, tracking your cycle accurately and coming off of birth control if that's something that you recently had to do, and you might be suffering from symptoms of that. Module 10 is the importance of sleep, sunlight, and movement. So we're going to talk about exercising, all of that. 11 and 12 are common fertility diagnoses, and then supplements, herbs, and fertility drugs. So this is where I teach you how to build your own prenatal, how to use, you know, fertility herbs, and then why fertility drugs can cause more issues. Module 13 is all about reducing toxins, which is another huge aspect of the course, and helping you, you know, create a healthier body so that you have a healthier baby. Module 14 is where I give you like optimal ranges for all of your lab work. And then I also teach you how to read your own HTMA, which is a hair tissue and mineral analysis. I require this from all of my one-on-one clients, but in the course, you don't have to do it if you don't want. But if you want it, this breaks down how to read it and, you know, understand your results. And then module 15 is basically what we talked about today, but more in depth. And it's like all about the central nervous system regulation and how to create a safe body, and a safe emotional body. So when you enroll, you get the 15 bonuses. And then if you pay in full, there's 4 additional bonuses. And those are, let me see if I made slides for them or not. Yeah, so the course with the bonuses is $597. So it's just a one-time payment of $597. Oh, so bonus number 1, how to build your own prenatal. Bonus number 2 is your recipe guide and snack builder. Bonus 3 is lab work freebie. So this is like a printout that you can literally bring to your doctor and be like, hi, I want these labs run and the reason for them. And then number 4 is you get one-on-one support via Voxer with me for a whole month. So like, as you're going through the course, like when questions pop up or you want feedback or whatever, you can just message me, which is like a huge, it's huge. We're going to become besties. So, you can enroll today for $597, or you can do, 3 payments of $215. So there's also a payment plan that's very affordable. Yeah. So if you're interested, tomorrow an email will be coming out, and there'll be a link for that. And yeah,